friends out there in YouTube land, Rob here. Today we're going to be talking about the Fujifilm Instax Mini EVO. This is a great Instax camera. It's very fun. Digital camera, analog print, built all into one. And people ask me all the time, what's the best Instax camera that I could recommend? And this really is it. I love it quite a bit. And I recommend it for a couple of reasons, but there are some caveats. And the one thing that I say that gets a lot of people stirred up is that the reality is that for archival purposes, this isn't really a great camera. And that's because the digital files that are saved are very small. We've gone ahead and done some shooting back there. Let me go ahead and run you through what we're getting ready to do now. So I'm going to take it away, Rob.
So here we are, I've got my son. I know that if we're watching this, that this is looking a little dark right here, and that's because we've got a site set up, a little scene set up just the way that we want it. We've got some blue overcast light coming across some teal, which is really nice. It's gonna look great. We're also gonna use these two cameras. The whole concept is to say why we would prefer to use, something like the X100F or any X100 or X series camera that has the synchronization with the Fujifilm Instax mini printers, like the Share printer or the wide printer or the square one, the SQ printer and all that other stuff, as compared to using the Instax Mini EVO. And we've got a whole conversation to take about these two cameras after you see these results, but I want you to see just the setup that we've got going on right now. So we're gonna make these two cameras equal as best as we can. We're not gonna use any flash because we've got a particular lighting that we want right here. We're gonna get nice and close and make sure that we can go ahead and synchronize. And I'm gonna take 2 or 3 photos on the EVO to give it the best chance of getting the best image for you. Let's go ahead and do that right now with the EVO. On the EVO, we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. And these images will be taken in the vertical orientation just like we would want. On the EVO, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my flash to suppressed. I'm also gonna come over here to my exposure compensation. I'm gonna bring the exposure compensation down. Remember, this is a completely automatic camera, so I'm bringing the exposure compensation right now. We're at 1 standard right there. Okay, and the EVO is even having a hard time focusing on 3, 1, 2, and 3. We've got self-timer on. Now, unfortunately, at the end of the self-timer, it went ahead and adjusted higher. It got it adjusted the exposure higher than what I wanted it to. So we're going to try that again. And Bill, I want you to bring your hand up. No, actually put it over here on your headphone, okay? And elbow up some, chin up a little bit. Okay, we're doing it again. I'm going to step back a little bit, get this. And as you can see, the EVO actually is having a hard time focusing. And 1, 2, and 3. Good, that one worked. Now I'm stepping back a little bit more to give just enough room for any print that might need to be. Sometimes the print stretches a little bit. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, there we go. We got it right here, and it's looking nice. Maybe you can see right there. Got a nice shot. And now it's time to go ahead and do the same thing over here with the X100F. Now, bigger sensor, bigger everything else. I've got this on the same kind of deal. Put your hand back up. In fact, you can take a very similar pose on that one. The X100F has a little bit of a wider or a shallower, it's got about 28 compared to 35 millimeters, so I got to step back. The field of view is a little different. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think my white balance between the two is a little different, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. There we go. On 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to get a little closer on this one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And just because I like the shot, I'm going to come closer right here. Now, instead of looking that way, look, just hand in your pocket, thumb in. Yeah, just like that. And extend that elbow out that way some. Right. In fact, take this other hand and put it over here. Yeah, just like that. Looking towards me on 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. and look straight, almost straight at me with the camera. Now turn the camera that way a little bit. Okay, so I think just right there, you can tell that we're finding the images. They're being found pretty easily. Looks good.
Okay, we are back. Now, as you saw in that scenario, we used two specific cameras, which was the X100F as well as the Fujifilm Instax Mini EVO. What I'm going to go ahead and do is actually print off those right now for you so that you can see. This is the image I want to print just the way that it is right here. Printing it is as simple as pulling the lever and it's going to print. Now, as that's doing its thing, I want to set up over here so that you can see the way we would print from the Instax or the X100F or any of the other X100s is very simply to choose the image that we want, turn our printer, our share printer on, press the menu button, and then go down here to wireless communication. Actually, Instax print. Press that button. It's going to print here just as soon as it connects. The X100F is connecting. It has already connected to the printer. And now we're going to go ahead and press the OK, which is the print button. As you can see, it's sending. And it'll be sending over here in just a moment. Okay. And there we go. It's coming out. Now, interestingly enough, on this particular example, I had a strange print error on my Instax Mini EVO. So we're going to try that again. Our image is back up. It's ready to go. We're going to print again, and let's see what happens here. Preparing to print. Okay. Yes, it's printing now. We can see that it's coming out. This is exactly what I would have hoped for. Okay. Now, I'm going to just let these two things sit right there for a minute, and I want to bring you in a little closer over here, and let's do that. All right. Okay, so we've got two images, right? So that should be pretty good. You should be able to see just fine right there. We've got two images. And I know that looking at it right here, you probably won't be able to tell any difference because you're looking through a camera, looking through me, looking through all that other stuff. However, what you will be able to notice right off the bat is that one is just a little bit nicer than the other. So we've got more blown out highlights over here. We've got more detail over there. This is the X100F, and then this is the one that was taken on the Fujifilm Instax Mini EVO. When we compare them, we can also see the difference in size that you'll get when you zoom all the way in. You'll have quite a bit more room on this 24, 26 megapixel sensor compared to this 5 megapixel sensor. We'll also want to see that the image size that we get over here is quite a bit larger. This is a 14 megabit JPEG. This is a 1.5 megabit JPEG. Both of these were shot in that JPEG mode just to make it easy. Both of them were shot on full auto so that the cameras could do their own things. One thing that we'll note is that we have quite a bit more gradation and skin tones and color right here, which is nice as compared to this image over here. When we're looking over here, especially if we go into like 300%, you can really begin to see that JPEG artifacting starting to really break up the image. This is 300 times or 300%, excuse me. And so we can see in the X100F image, we've just got quite a bit more detail. We don't have any of that artifacting and JPEG issues that we have, this blockiness right there, and along the line. So if those types of things are important to you right off the bat, that's one of the reasons that I say that you're better off using a dual camera setup. Now, when it comes to the images directly, these are still developing, but we'll talk about that in a second. I don't think there's really much of a difference in the output image because the canvas is so small that we're using, there's not really much of a difference. Let's let those guys do their thing just a little bit longer. One thing that you're going to find out with your Fujifilm Instax Mini EVO is that while photographing and shooting with this camera, you've actually got quite a bit of opportunities to make some interesting content. Specifically, you can change the lens effects that you have right here, okay, as well as change the filter effects. And these are some really interesting concepts. You've got 10 different lens effects and 10 different filter effects with 100 different objects or different types of images that you can create. And I like that quite a bit. You can save those as presets. You also have a little bit of cropping and after editing, so to speak, because we can zoom in on this particular image, we can move, we can confirm, we can do all those things, and we can choose how to print it in like a rich or an Instax type of mode. We can choose several different print modes. So you have some very, very basic editing capabilities with some very basic creative filters, basically 100 different combinations of filters. If you don't take into account all of the power that you get from RAW files, not just JPEGs, when Fujifilm talks about their camera, they've got all these different really interesting JPEG effects, which are their film effects right here. And we can kind of see that they've got these different ones like Chrome and Astia and things like that, which mimic different film stocks that Fujifilm is used to using and has provided in the past. The biggest difference that will come here is we've also got quite a few different settings that we can change, specifically sharpness, highlights and shadow tones, roll-offs and curves, the ability to add grain, the ability to add vignette, things like that in camera while we're photographing. We can do this to the actual preview image, even when we're shooting RAW. So we can shoot RAW in JPEG and have a baked-in effect, or we can create our own recipes on the camera itself to fit specific situations. We can do this with all of the X series cameras. Different X series cameras have different film effects or film looks built into them, with the more newer cameras having more film looks. That's one of the reasons that you buy it, because the JPEGs really are very great. But when you think about editing photos, and if you don't want to use a computer, having the capability to jump in and dial in your highlights and shadows, basically working on your contrast and your midtones, changing from different film styles, changing from different color, hue, and saturation phase adjustments and things like that on the X100F or any X series camera is a huge, huge advantage. Now, barring the difference between these two images, if we were to look at them right here, I don't know if they're going to be in focus. Maybe I can I'm going to try to get these guys in focus and not focus on me. All right, there we go. Focus, focus, focus. There it is. Okay, so which one was which? Do you remember? Well, this was the Fujifilm Mini EVO. This is the X100F. You can see there's quite a bit of a difference in the actual outcome of the images right here. I think the frame is doing a little bit. Don't worry about the frame, but you'll notice we've got more of a blown out area over here, a little bit less color and saturation than we have over here. But really, between the two images right off the bat, mainly a different white balance setting between them, you could really take your pick at either one. But if you were worrying about things like archiving your images, you definitely would not want that one. It wouldn't be any good for you. If you're just having fun at a party, I think you're good to go here. But if you're going to photograph something that you want prints with, I think your best bet is to use the Instax Share Printer and then have the archival quality from that sensor. And it doesn't matter. It could be any camera, because Fujifilm has an app that pairs with your phone, so you can get the images off any camera, this or Sony or an app, whatever, and then print to a Share Printer just by transferring the image to your phone and then from the phone to the Share Printer, or printing directly from your phone from images you've taken on your phone from the Share Printer. One final note is that Fujifilm will not allow you to transfer any of the images taken on this Mini EVO unless you've printed them. So you cannot transfer wirelessly to the Fujifilm Instax Mini EVO Share app unless you print the image on the device. However, you can take the image off the SD card, which is just located down here. You can pop that out, put it in a computer, put it in a OTG or a USB connector, and as USB to SD card connector, and put it on your phone or whatever you want. So there you go. Although I love the camera quite a bit, I think it's a lot of fun when I've got to photograph something that I want instant prints as well as archival quality. I'm definitely going to use a different camera. But if I'm just out and about photographing and having a good time at a water park, something that's not really something that I want to archive, like a birthday party or things like that, then I don't mind using that. That's just me. Your mileage may vary. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'm Rob. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye for now.